Bareback riding 101. Here's what you need to know. Potential score is 100, half coming from how well the cowboy rides, the other half on how strong the horse bucks. Mandatory markout rule in effect, got to stay on board 8 seconds. Cowboy wedges his hand into a bareback rigging. It resembles a suitcase. That's all he has to hold on to. This rough stock event is all about timing. Cowboy's feet should be back at the horse's front end before the horse's front feet hit the ground. It all starts with the markout rule. You got to have your spurs in contact above the point of the horse's shoulder on its first jump out of the chutes. Even if one boot's too low, that's a no score. Once you clear that hurdle, it's all about staying in control until you hear the whistle. Bareback riding. This is one grueling event. Welcome to Steer Wrestling 101. Here's a look at the rules. Fastest time wins. Steer always gets a head start. The hazer seems to be the MVP, and a broken barrier is the kiss of death. You can see the hazer on the left side there. His job is to keep the steer in a perfect position for the steer wrestler, who needs to make a great start, not break the barrier, get to the steer, and of course get the clock stopped. That happens when all 4 legs of the steer are facing the same direction. Let's talk about the broken barrier. It's actually held together by a string. If the steer wrestler hits the barrier before it's released by the steer, the string breaks, and that results in a 10-second penalty. Now let's take a look at what a good steer wrestling run looks like. Tyler Waggas Pack 2015 Wrangler NFR, 3.2 seconds. That's how you get it done. Team Roping 101, let's take a look at the rules. Here you have a header and a heeler. The fastest time wins. The steer gets a head start. One cowboy is roping the horns. The other cowboy is roping the feet. And there are some problems here that you have to avoid. It starts with the barrier. The steer gets a head start. If the header leaves early and breaks that barrier, that is a 10-second penalty. That is a kiss of death in a go-around. The heeler can also get in hot water if he only ropes one hind leg instead of 2. That's a 5-second penalty. That will also take you out of the go-around. Once the header and the heeler have done their jobs and the horse's face, that's when the clock stops. When these guys get things going, they can be really fast. Don't blink or you just might miss it. They can get a lot done in under 4 seconds. Saddle bronc riding is rodeo's classic event. Here's a look at the rules. Like the other rough stock events, 100 possible points, half from the cowboy, the other half from the bronc. Mandatory markout rule, got to stay in that saddle 8 seconds. The bronc rein is all the cowboy has to hold on to. It has to be measured perfectly. Too much or too little, and you're in big trouble. And the markout rule is also in effect. This rule states that the cowboy's spurs have to be touching the animal above the point of his shoulders on its first jump out of the bucking chutes. Drop a foot, and it's a no score. Saddle bronc riding considered to be rodeo's classic event, and here you can see why. When it's done right, it's like poetry in motion. Tie down roping 101. This is an event born straight off the ranch. Fastest time wins, but it's actually a little bit more complicated than that. There are some things that can go wrong. It starts with a head start for the calf. Once he hits the end of that rope, that frees up the barrier. Now, if a cowboy leaves just a little bit early, he breaks that barrier, that's a 10-second penalty, and that can be too much to overcome. On the ground, all he has to do is tie 3 legs, and the calf has to stay tied for 6 seconds after he gets back on his horse. Once he throws up his hands, that's when the clock stops. Barrel Racing 101. Here's a quick look at the rules. Fastest time wins. The horse will run a cloverleaf pattern around 3 barrels, and the key is to leave all 3 barrels standing, because if you knock down one of those Coors cans, that is a 5-second penalty. The barrel racer has the option of going to the left or to the right. Doesn't matter. Bottom line is you still have to leave 3 barrels standing as you complete that cloverleaf pattern. The cardinal sin, that right there, knocking down a barrel. That is a 5-second penalty. Doesn't matter how it comes down. Once it hits the ground, you get the penalty, and that ensures instant defeat. Bull Riding 101, no doubt the most dangerous 8 seconds in sports. 100 points possible. That did happen one time, by the way. Half the score comes from how well the cowboy rides, the other half from how hard the bull bucks. Doesn't matter here whether you're on the bull's back or down in the dirt. This game isn't over until you're safely on or beyond the fence. If you're totally in control, open up and spur a little bit. That will help you with the judges and maybe raise your score. But the bottom line is you have to stay in control and you have to stay on the bull for 8 seconds. One no-no, don't slap the bull with your free hand. If that happens, the clock stops and you get no score. The bullfighters are out there to help save your bacon. If this looks dangerous, well, that's because it is.